a break in the weather, but that just means more work for the volunteers. Around Perthville, the risk of flooding is real. At this home, the river is running just a stone's throw away. Sandbags are fortifying properties with vulnerable residents leaving for higher ground.
We have within the Bathurst area undertaken and commenced and completed door knocking of all low-lying properties.
A rolling storm front-sidestepped the Central West last night, but we're not out of the clear yet.
Leading into the weekend, we still do have that second front that's coming through from the west of the state, which is likely to bring, again, further heavy rainfall.
At the mountain, the homes of racegoers have survived the conditions so far, but with the weather still hanging over everyone's head, those who are yet to arrive should avoid complacency.
Just urge people to be careful, watch for flood warnings, and really concerned about people entering floodwaters on the way to or from the event because there are rivers rising.
The city's highways are crawling with police, with race fans being tested for drugs and alcohol.
Some of the accidents that we've had are really preventable. They are preventable deaths.
At the racetrack, hundreds of officers will be out in force up until the end of the weekend. The riot squad can't be missed, patrolling in droves.
If there is behaviour that affects the comfort of good people walking around this vicinity, you will be arrested and we will remove you from these premises.
A zero-tolerance policy so everyone can enjoy the show.
And late this afternoon, we received some new information about the next few hours. Bathurst will receive minimal rain this evening, meaning our rivers will not be supercharged, leading into a renewed weather event. Authorities are expecting the next bout of heavy rain to hit from tomorrow evening, with the heaviest fall occurring on Saturday. There is a potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain across the area. Authorities aren't taking any chances.
So we'll see additional New South Wales SES resources in the forms of storm and water crews, additional flood rescue resources, and also support from our other emergency service partners that are here at our request.
Sydney has broken an unwanted record. 2022 is the wettest year since records began way back in 1858. And tonight, as water is released from Warragamba, flood-prone suburbs from the northwest to the south are on alert with days of drenching rain on the way. The Weather Bureau warning the worst is yet to come.
They couldn't tell you how many bags they've filled or the number of people they've saved. It's all just part of a job that today they wish they didn't have to do.
We're getting obviously very prepared with our sandbags at the moment. We've got storm teams about to go out.
At Penrith SES there was a steady stream of residents, some who'd flooded before, some who hadn't, all fed up with the threat of wild weather.
Well, I hope it goes away so we get some sort of life back. I think we've had enough, haven't we?
Penrith and surrounds now subject to a flood warning as countless creeks, tributaries, rivers remain steady or steadily rising.
It's only going to get worse, unfortunately. Saturday is likely to be our danger day.
Further west you go, the worse it gets. Emergency crews sandbagging, door knocking, doing supply runs in boats. At Bathurst, the host city of the supercars, there's another race to move people away from the Macquarie River.
The flood outlook for some areas on the western slopes looks set to worsen on the weekend and potentially reach significant major flood levels.
That enormous rain band has now drifted off to sea, but a second trough and cold front looms in its wake. The Weather Bureau calls it complicated.
No two floods are the same, and just because you haven't been affected by floods before does not mean you may not be affected by floods.
Accompanied by strong winds and big waves from the Hunter south to the Illawarra coast. In Sydney, more of the misery we cop today. Unrelenting, record-breaking rain. There have only been 5 years in which the city has seen more than 2 metres of rain since records started in 1858. In 1963, 2,035 millimetres filled the gauges. 1890 saw 2,071 mils, with slightly more than that in 1860. The previous record was set in 1950, where 2,194 millimetres fell, only to be eclipsed by 2022. We've already had almost 2.2 metres fall this year, and there's still 3 months to go. These saturated grounds also increase the risk of things like this happening. Big trees toppling down once the wind gets up.
Well, it just fell out of the ground. I had another tree struck by lightning this time last year, so yeah, it's not It's not a very pleasant feeling.
None of this is pleasant. Only a few years ago we were in drought. Now we're staring down the barrel of another major flood event while still recovering from the first one.
There are many communities through the Hawkesbury Nepean that have experienced 4 floods in 18 months.
The emergency warning system has been simplified, but even so, extra vigilance is required.
We will try and give you as much notice as possible, but this particular event on saturated ground means that things can happen very quickly.
New South Wales, tonight on Notice.